Welcome everyone! I've put together this introductory guide on how to play the Cleric effectively so that you can win more fights with your team and extract with more loot more often than not. I've been playing Cleric a lot, and although he's a little more technical than the other melee classes, he is in my opinion the most powerful, or at least the most important inclusion for a team comp. The Cleric can be fairly strong by themselves, but they spend a lot of time casting buffs rather than fighting, so I understand why many people won't initially choose the Cleric, but they might be the key to more success for your party. So here's a few tips to help you get to grips with the Cleric. This Cleric build is focused at making your party's fighter or barbarian an absolute powerhouse, so we're taking Bless, Protection and Divine Strike. In practice, it makes most sense to always cast Bless to begin with, as this will last for 30 seconds, allowing you some time to follow up with Protection and Divine Strike, which both last for 20 seconds. By the time you've finished your casts, your melee class will have +3 strength, agility and will, which buffs their total strength, damage, move speed, action speed and magical resistance. They'll have 20 physical damage protection and +10 weapon damage on the hits, which can often turn a 3-hit kill into a 2-hit kill or even potentially one-shot a rogue. Especially for the barbarian, this is a lot of added power to an already formidable frontline character. And of course finally, this is a heal focused build, so we have Holy Light and Lesser Heal slotted, which are really useful to have in any circumstance. For this build, and most likely a lot of Cleric builds, you want to have Advanced Healer and Kindness slotted because they noticeably improve your team's heals, and particularly Kindness, which heals you for 15% of the heal amount every time you cast a heal spell on an injured friendly. You also get that little bit extra because we have Advanced Healer slotted at the same time, so they synergize very well. For the other perks, it's a little bit more personal preference. I have Brewmaster just because in times of dire need, I just like to knock back an ale and hope for the best with that juicy strength bonus. The two skills I'm using are Judgment and Spell Memory, otherwise we can't remember any of our spells. Judgment is a preference. I don't use it all that often, but it can be handy against a weakened opponent, or even switched out for Holy Purification for an AoE clear against AI mobs. You could even experiment with Spell Memory too if you have enough available spell cost, but in order to do that you'll likely need a higher level of knowledge gained from your item stats. Positionally speaking, you want to be attached by the hip to your team's main melee class, usually the fighter or the barbarian. This is mostly important during combat, but it's good to get into the habit of always being aware of positioning, because even a surprise mob spawn can catch you off guard and split up your team at a really bad moment. So, when entering a room, a corridor or pushing a fight, melee takes the lead and Cleric should be close behind. If the player that the Cleric is supporting gets too far ahead, then the Cleric won't be able to support them. So stick with your team as best as you can and keep your melee class in between yourself and the other team to avoid them pouncing on you and removing your team's healer. When you've made the decision to push a fight, start by buffing your melee fighter. Charge towards the enemy with blatant disregard for health and safety. Stay close to but behind the fighter, and remember that he can't see you and is focused on the targets in front. So you'll have to do your best to stay close enough to buff and heal, but try to stay away from the flailing blades. If one of your targets comes for you, then don't panic. In a lot of cases, your shared heals with the Kindness perk will keep you alive long enough for your fighter to deal with the threat. That's also another good reason to stay close together, make good callouts and communicate clearly. During combat, keep a really close eye on your team's health pool and be prepared at all times to be able to clearly cast a heal spell on your fighter. Sometimes AI can get in between you, or even a wall or a stack of boxes which can break your line of sight, and that one missed heal could mean death for your fighter and leave you with a difficult 3v2. Although if they did their job, then the remaining 3 guys should be pretty hurt and you might be able to clean up easily. If the team you're about to fight is a ranger, then it's also a good idea as a Cleric to buff yourself with the protection spell or a potion before you make the push, as it will protect you substantially from arrows as you close ground. If you take too much damage early on, then the dynamic of the fight will change before you even get a chance to land the first blow. So like Wu-Tang said, protect your neck. If the fight goes really well, then you'll probably steamroll the enemy and still have a decent amount of health. So you'll be ready for another fight pretty fast if it calls for it. It'll heal me too. Now attack him. To get the most out of your Cleric, you'll mostly want to focus on items that give you bonuses to agility and knowledge, or of course +1 all stats, which are often really good. Higher agility will help your Cleric move faster, switch items faster, and generally interact with the environment like doors and chests faster, which just makes everything you do in the dungeon a little easier to manage in general and gives you a little more freedom. This is largely the reason why agility is considered the best skill to improve for all classes, as it just makes life a lot easier for you. Higher knowledge will make you cast your spells faster and should determine your overall spell memory capacity. It is also eventually intended to speed up magical interaction speed, which will make it faster interacting with portals and shrines, but I cannot confirm that this mechanic has been implemented fully yet. Will is also a good stat, as a higher level of will should increase the duration of your buffs to your teammates, although the Cleric's buffs are pretty generous as it is, so I don't prioritize this in any circumstance, but it's just worth noting how it can benefit you. And finally, campfires. Campfires are great for everyone, but I'm pretty sure the Cleric is an outdoorsman at heart based on how useful they are to him. They will refill your spent spells, and it's the only way to do it as a Cleric. So either you'll have to remember to bring one with you, or just team up with a Ranger who gets a basic one by default. So that's a brief guide for new players on how to play the Cleric well enough so that your team can rely on you when the shit hits the fan. You of course need a reliable fighter or barbarian to take the lead, but following this guide should help you win a lot more fights in the future. Thanks for watching, dudes. If you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Peace.